You ever have that weird feeling? You have an idea, something you think is totally unique, and then bam, a few days later you see it pop up out in the real world. Well, sometimes the universe really does seem to have a strange sense of humor, creating these incredible echoes between what we can imagine and what's actually real.
So, let's get into this story. It all starts with a guy named Ralph Losey, a legal tech author. It's late October 2025, and he's putting the finishing touches on an article about quantum physics and the law. He comes up with this cool literary metaphor to tie the whole thing together, but he has absolutely no idea that his little metaphor is about to crash headfirst into a real-life scientific breakthrough.
And this is where it gets crazy. On one hand, you've got his metaphor. On October 21st, Losey hits publish on his article, and he calls it quantum echo. Cool, right? Well, on the other hand, you've got the actual science. Just 2 days later, Google makes this massive announcement about a new, world-changing quantum algorithm. And what did they name it? Quantum echoes. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. It's the kind of coincidence that sounds like it's straight out of a movie.
So yeah, this uncanny echo is our way in. Today, we're going to dig into what Google actually pulled off, and more importantly, why this huge leap in quantum computing is about to change, well, pretty much everything from how we do science to how our entire legal system works.
Okay, so the big deal behind Google's whole announcement comes down to this one term: verifiable quantum advantage. Now, we've heard scientists talk about quantum supremacy for years, but this is different. This isn't just about being faster for the sake of being fast. This is about doing something genuinely useful that a normal supercomputer literally cannot do. And, here's the kicker, getting a result that someone else can check and prove is correct. This is all about verifiable proof.
Right, so how in the world did Google actually do this? How did they create an algorithm that can basically hear something that was totally unhearable before? Well, the physics behind it is, completely mind-bending, but the core idea is actually pretty intuitive. It all comes down to a really clever analogy.
Vadim Smolyansky, who is one of the top scientists over at Google Quantum AI, he put it perfectly. He said to think of their quantum chip like a huge, dark ocean. If you want to map what's down there, what do? You use sonar. You send out a signal, you let it bounce off of everything, and then you listen for the echo. That's exactly what they did, but on a quantum scale.
So here's how their quantum sonar actually works, broken down into 4 steps. First, they send a signal into their quantum chip, which is called Willow. Then step 2, they introduce this tiny disturbance, like a butterfly effect kind of nudge, to just one of the qubits. Step 3, and this is where it gets really sci-fi, they run the entire thing backward. They literally hit rewind on a quantum process. And finally, they just listen. And what comes back isn't noise. It's this clear, amplified echo, a signal they can actually measure.
And the result of all this? The payoff is just staggering. Look at this number. They ran a calculation that would take the most powerful supercomputer on Earth almost 3 years to finish. The Willow chip did it in just over 2 hours. That's 13,000 times faster. We're not talking about just an improvement here. This is a whole new ballgame for what's even possible with computers.
Now, a breakthrough this big doesn't just stay locked up in a lab. See, when you can create a provable result that no other machine can even replicate, you've essentially created a whole new kind of evidence. So, what happens when this stuff hits a courtroom? How does a legal system built on black and white certainty deal with proof that's fuzzy and probabilistic by its very nature?
This really gets to the heart of it. For decades, digital proof has been simple. It's either a perfect bit-for-bit copy or it isn't. It's all or nothing. But in the quantum world, it doesn't work that way. You never get the exact same result twice. What you get are these echoes with an accent, outputs that are statistically similar and follow a consistent pattern. The whole idea of proof has to shift from demanding perfection to just verifying consistency.
But here's the good news. The legal system doesn't have to throw out the entire playbook and start over. There are already frameworks in place that can handle this. You've got rules that already allow for evidence from any process that produces an accurate result. And the famous Daubert standard, it's all about checking if the method is reliable, not if the result is absolutely perfect. The key is just proving your process is sound.
And really, that's the bottom line. The legal conversation is just going to change. Lawyers and judges won't be asking for a perfect digital fingerprint anymore. Instead, they're going to be looking at charts and graphs and asking experts, hey, do these patterns look consistent enough? It's a whole new language for proof, but it's still based on the same old ideas of reliability and verification.
All right, but there's always a flip side, right? A machine that is this good at verifying reality can also be used to uncover secrets. This incredible breakthrough brings us one giant step closer to a very serious and very real cybersecurity threat.
And that threat is called Q-Day. This is the moment that security experts have been dreading for years. It's the day when a quantum computer becomes powerful enough to break the encryption that protects basically everything in our digital lives. When Q-Day hits, the locks on our emails, our bank accounts, our national secrets, they could all just dissolve in an instant.
And if you're sitting there thinking, oh, well, that's still years away, you're missing the real danger. The attack is already happening. It's called a harvest now, decrypt later attack. Adversaries are stealing massive amounts of encrypted data right now. They're just stockpiling it, waiting for the day they get their hands on a quantum computer powerful enough to crack it all open. Today's secrets are absolutely at risk from tomorrow's tech. This means you have to act now. If you're a leader in any business, you should be asking 3 big questions, like yesterday. 1. Where is all our sensitive data, and how are we protecting it? 2. Are our tech vendors actually getting ready for this? And 3. When the time comes, how are we going to prove that we're actually quantum safe?
Okay, so let's pull way, way back for a minute. We've gone from this weird little coincidence to a lab to a courtroom to global cybersecurity. But this technology, it also makes us ask much bigger, much deeper questions about the nature of reality itself, and even what justice really means.
I mean, think about this. In quantum physics, the simple act of looking at something forces it to pick one state out of a whole bunch of possibilities. Before you look, it's just a cloud of potential. After you look, it's one single declared reality. Well, isn't that exactly what a courtroom does? It takes a messy reality with a million different stories and collapses it all down into one single verdict, guilty or not guilty.
And this leads us down the rabbit hole to probably the most mind-bending idea in all of science, the many worlds hypothesis. There are serious physicists, including some at Google, who believe that every time a quantum event happens, reality doesn't just collapse, it splits. It creates a brand new universe for every single possible outcome. It's a wild thought, right? That we could be living in just one reality out of an infinite number of others.
And you know what? That's probably the perfect place to leave it, with this quote from Niels Bohr, one of the founding fathers of all this stuff. From a strange coincidence to a brand new reality, these quantum echoes just remind us that the universe is so much stranger and more connected than we can ever really wrap our heads around. The future isn't just coming, it's listening. The only question is, are we?